Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
We love to explore fascinating topics, and today is no exception. We're going to be talking about eyesight, something we all have, and something that changes throughout our lives.
It sure does. It's one of those things we often take for granted until it starts to change.
Exactly, and we're going to unpack some really cool insights from top optometrists so we can really understand what's going on with our vision, whether you're prepping for an eye exam or just want to know how to keep your eyes healthy for years to come. This is the deep dive for you.
We'll be covering a lot of ground today, from the age when our vision peaks to common conditions to watch out for, and of course, what we can do to protect our precious eyesight.
Let's jump right in. I think most of us just assume our eyesight is best when we're kids, like when we're young and everything's bright and sharp.
Makes sense, right? You're young, your body's in its prime, but here's the thing. Our vision actually hits its peak a little later in our late teens and early 20s.
Wow, really? I would have thought it was way earlier. So what's happening in our eyes during those prime vision years?
Well, basically, the eye's focusing muscles are at their strongest during that time, late teens, early 20s, allowing for those quick adjustments and the crystal clear vision we often don't even realize we have.
That's true. We do take it for granted. I remember pulling all-nighters in college studying for exams. My eyes never got tired back then. I guess those were the good old days, huh? But time marches on. What happens when we hit our 40s and 50s? Anyone else out there holding their books further away or maybe struggling to read in dim lighting?
It happens to the best of us. It's a natural part of aging that we all experience to some degree, biologically speaking. The lens inside our eye loses some of its flexibility over time, making it tougher to focus on those close-up objects like a book or your phone.
Right, and that's where presbyopia comes in, I think.
Exactly. Presbyopia, that's the fancy term for that difficulty focusing on near objects, It's like how you might find yourself holding that menu a little further away these days to read it.
I've definitely been there.
Mm.
It's a good thing reading glasses exist.
They're a lifesaver, aren't they? It's incredibly common, and there's no shame in needing a little help as those focusing muscles, get a little less youthful, shall we say.
So presbyopia is one change, but are there other things happening in our eyes as we age?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just the lens. It's a whole cascade of changes. Think of it like a perfectly tuned instrument gradually going a bit out of tune over time. For example, our pupils, they don't respond as quickly, which can impact our night vision. And the retinal cells, those become less sensitive to light as well.
I'm starting to see why night driving gets trickier as we get older.
Exactly. You might notice things seem a bit dimmer or less clear than they used to, especially when you're driving at night.
So it's not just about needing a stronger prescription for our glasses. It's about these underlying changes in our eyes that happen naturally over time. And speaking of changes, I know there are certain eye conditions that we need to be more aware of as we get older. We've all heard terms like cataracts and glaucoma, but what do those actually mean?
Those are definitely some of the big ones we should talk about. We've already covered presbyopia, but let's break down some of these other common conditions, starting with cataracts. Imagine looking through a window that's gradually become fogged up. That's essentially what happens with cataracts. The lens of your eye becomes cloudy.
I see. So it's like a gradual dimming of your vision.
Yeah, you got it. Then there's glaucoma, which is damage to the optic nerve, the nerve that carries signals from the eye to the brain. And finally, age-related macular degeneration, that one affects your central vision, the part you use to see fine details.
So many things to be aware of. But the good news is regular eye exams can help catch these conditions early, right?
Absolutely. Regular eye exams are crucial. It's not just about updating your prescription, it's about safeguarding your sight. And overall health, early detection is key when it comes to managing these conditions effectively.
That's a good reminder for all of us to schedule those checkups. Now, I have to ask about something that's on everyone's mind these days. Screens, we're all glued to our phones, computers, tablets. Does all this screen time really affect our vision in the long run?
It's a question we get a lot, and for good reason. When you're staring at a screen for hours on end, you tend to blink less, which can lead to dry, irritated eyes. And those eye muscles working to focus, they're constantly engaged, which can lead to blurred vision and eye fatigue.
It's like our eyes are running a marathon every time we're on our devices. So is it just a matter of giving our eyes a break every now and then, or is there something more to it?
Taking breaks definitely helps, but the bigger issue is that all that screen time might be taking away from activities that are actually good for your eye health, like spending time outdoors, getting some fresh air and sunshine.
The great outdoors, sunshine, fresh air, and apparently good for our eyes, too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sensing a theme here. It seems like a lot of what's good for our overall health is also good for our vision.
You're spot on. When you're outside, your eyes are naturally adjusting to different distances. Unlike the fixed focus of a screen, plus natural light is great. It helps your body produce vitamin D and supports healthy sleep patterns, both of which have indirect benefits for your vision.
So put down the phone, step away from the computer, and get outside your eyes.
hmm
Thank you. But speaking of healthy habits, we briefly touched on smoking earlier. Sounds like that's a big no-no when it comes to eye health.
It's a major risk factor. Unfortunately, smoking increases your risk of developing several serious eye conditions, including cataracts, macular degeneration, and dry eye. It can even make existing conditions like diabetic retinopathy and glaucoma worse.
Whoa. That's definitely a wake-up call if you needed one.
Hmm.
But on a more positive note, what about all those things we hear about supporting our eye health? Is there any truth to the old saying about carrots being good for your eyes?
Well, carrots do contain beta-carotene, which is converted into vitamin A in the body, and vitamin A is essential for good vision. But it's not just about carrots. The real key is a balanced diet overall. Think plenty of fruits, vegetables, and those leafy greens everyone keeps raving about.
So eating our greens isn't just good for our bodies. It's good for our eyes, too. But let me guess, it's not just about what we eat, is it?
You're catching on another often overlooked factor is hydration. Many people simply don't drink enough water, and that can affect your eye health as well. Aim for about 2 liters of water a day for women and 2.5 liters for men.
Think of it as a refreshing spa treatment for your eyes. Now, what about protecting our eyes from the sun? I know sunglasses are important in the summer, but do we really need to wear them year-round?
UV exposure from the sun can speed up eye aging and increase your risk of certain eye conditions. So sunglasses are a good idea anytime you're outdoors, especially in bright conditions. And don't forget about protecting your eyes during winter sports and other activities where there's a lot of glare.
So those stylish shades are actually our eye's best friend. But what if we do notice changes in our vision? What are the warning signs we shouldn't ignore?
Any sudden changes in your vision, like double vision, blurriness, flashes of light, or floaters, warrant a trip to the eye doctor right away. Those could be signs of a more serious eye condition that needs prompt attention.
So regular eye exams are important, but we also need to be proactive and pay attention to any changes we notice now before we wrap up this part of our deep dive. I want to touch on something we briefly mentioned earlier, the connection between sleep and eye health. I know sleep is important for our overall well-being, but how does it specifically affect our eyes?
Well, sleep is crucial for eye health because it allows your eyes to rest and repair themselves during sleep. Your corneal cells regenerate and your eyes get rehydrated from all that blinking you do throughout the day.
So skimping on sleep is like denying our eyes their much-needed beauty rest. And I'm guessing chronic sleep deprivation can take a toll on our vision.
Absolutely. If you consistently don't get enough sleep, you might experience eye fatigue, dry eyes, blurry vision, and even eye twitches. It can also increase your risk of developing certain eye conditions like glaucoma.
Wow, I never realized how interconnected sleep and eye health really are. So how much sleep should we be aiming for to keep our eyes in tip-top shape?
Most adults need around 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night. And it's not just about the quantity, but also the quality. Make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool to create a conducive sleep environment, and try to establish a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends, to help regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle.
So a good night's sleep is like a mini vacation for our eyes, and a regular sleep schedule is like giving them a VIP pass to the relaxation lounge. But let's switch gears for a moment and talk about something a little more proactive. Are there any specific eye exercises or techniques we can do to improve our vision?
There's a lot of buzz about eye exercises, but the scientific evidence supporting their effectiveness in actually improving eyesight is still limited. Some people find that certain exercises, like focusing on objects at different distances or doing eye rolls, can help relieve eye strain and improve focusing ability in the short term. However, it's important to understand that these exercises won't magically cure any underlying eye conditions or reverse age-related vision changes.
So it's more about maintaining flexibility and reducing strain rather than expecting miracles.
Exactly. Think of it like stretching your muscles. It helps to keep you flexible and limber, but it won't suddenly make you a professional athlete. However, there is one technique that has shown more promising results in improving certain aspects of vision therapy.
Vision therapy, tell me more.
It's a personalized program of eye exercises and activities prescribed by an eye doctor, usually an optometrist who specializes in vision therapy. It's often used to treat conditions like lazy eye convergence, insufficiency difficulty with eye teaming, and other visual processing issues that can affect how your eyes and brain work together.
So it's kind of like physical therapy, but for your eyes.
That's a great analogy. Vision therapy helps to retrain the brain and eye muscles to work together more effectively. It can be particularly helpful for children and young adults whose visual systems are still developing.
Sounds pretty intensive. Who would be a good candidate for vision therapy?
It's often recommended for people who experience double vision, eye strain headaches, reading difficulties, or problems with depth perception. If you're concerned about your vision or suspect, you might benefit from vision therapy. The best thing to do is to consult with an eye doctor who specializes in this area. They can evaluate your individual needs and recommend the best course of action.
Makes sense. It's always best to seek professional guidance when it comes to our health, especially our precious eyesight. But, as we're talking about all these different ways to improve and protect our vision, I can't help but wonder about the bigger picture.
What do you mean?
Well, we've focused a lot on the physical aspects of eye health. But what about the psychological side? How does our mental and emotional well-being impact our vision? I feel like there's a whole other dimension we haven't even touched on yet.
That's a fascinating question and one that deserves its own deep dive. But you're right, there's a growing body of research exploring the mind-eye connection. And what we're finding is that it's a lot more powerful and complex than we ever imagined.
Is there anything you can tease us with before our next episode? Just a little sneak peek into the mysteries of the mind-eye connection?
Well, let's just say that the way we see the world is not always as straightforward as it seems. Our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, they can all play a role in shaping our visual perception, and in some cases, they can even have a direct impact on our eye health.
That's definitely something to think about. Until next time, stay curious and keep those peepers sharp.
Our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, all of those things, they can play a role in how we see the world, and sometimes they can even directly impact our eye health.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot to unpack. I mean, we've been talking about the physical aspects of eye health,
Yeah.
but now we're getting into the mind-eye connection. It's like a whole new layer.
It really is, and it's something that researchers are just starting to understand more deeply. But what we do know is that our brains are incredibly complex. They're constantly filtering and processing information, including what we see, and that process can be influenced by our emotions, our stress levels, even past experiences.
So it's not just about what our eyes physically see. It's about how our brains interpret that information, right?
Exactly. Our brains are creating a story, a narrative based on the visual input, and that story can change depending on our mental and emotional state.
That makes sense. Like if I'm walking home alone at night, I might be more likely to perceive a shadow as something scary, even if it's just, a harmless bush.
Yeah.
My anxiety is kind of shaping how I see things.
It's a perfect example, and it's not just about fear or anxiety. Think about how happiness or excitement can change your perception. You might notice more beauty in your surroundings when you're feeling good, or you might be more attuned to certain details that you wouldn't normally pick up on.
Like our emotions are acting like a filter on our vision, changing how we perceive the world around us.
It's a great way to put it, and this isn't just some abstract concept. There's actual scientific evidence to support this mind-eye connection.
Really? So it's not just a bunch of new age mumbo jumbo.
Not at all. There have been studies that show stress, for instance, can actually affect our visual acuity. People under stress might experience blurred vision or eye fatigue. They might even become more sensitive to light.
So stress is bad for our eyes, too. I knew it was bad for just about everything else.
It's not good for our eyes, that's for sure. Chronic stress can make existing eye conditions worse, and it might even increase the risk of developing new ones.
Okay, so stress less, got it. But beyond that, what can we do to nurture this mind-eye connection? Are we talking meditation, mindfulness retreats?
Well, those things can definitely help, but it's really about finding what works best for you. Managing stress is crucial for overall well-being, and that includes our eye health. So things like exercise, spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, those can all make a big difference.
So it's about taking care of our mental and emotional health as part of a holistic approach to eye care.
Absolutely. It's all connected. And one thing that I find fascinating is how our beliefs and expectations can actually influence how we see.
You mean like if we believe we have bad eyesight, it might actually become worse?
It's not quite that simple, but there's definitely a link.
Mm.
Our beliefs can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're constantly telling yourself you have terrible vision, you might start to focus on your perceived limitations and miss out on the beauty and detail that's right in front of you.
It's like we're limiting our own visual experience.
Exactly, and the opposite is true too. If we cultivate a positive mindset and appreciate the gift of sight, we might start to notice things we never saw before.
I love it. It's like a mental shift that can actually change how we see the world.
And it's not just about seeing, it's about appreciating what we see, being grateful for the ability to experience the world through our eyes, even as we age.
It's a beautiful reminder that even though our vision might change over time, There's always something to be grateful for and ways to enhance our visual experience.
So maybe instead of fearing vision loss, we can focus on celebrating the gift of sight and finding ways to nurture that connection between our minds and our eyes.
I love that idea, celebrating the gift of sight and recognizing that our eyes are more than just physical organs. They're connected to our thoughts, our emotions, our entire being.
Exactly. It's a reminder that eye care is about more than just eye drops and glasses. It's about taking care of our whole selves.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation, no pun intended.
Yeah.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of this topic.
There's always more to explore, but hopefully this deep dive has given you some food for thought and some inspiration to take care of your precious eyesight.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not just about carrots and sunglasses. It's about taking care of your mental and emotional well-being, too.
Exactly. A healthy mind and body go hand in hand with healthy vision.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery. And as always, we encourage you to keep those peepers sharp and your minds open. Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into eyesight. It's incredible how much we've uncovered already, from, those biological changes to the surprising link between sleep and vision. But now we're stepping into a territory that's both fascinating and a bit mysterious, the connection between our minds and our vision.
It's definitely an area that's getting more attention. For a long time, we focused on the mechanics of how our eyes work physically, but now we're starting to appreciate that interplay, between visual perception and our mental and emotional states.
So it's not just about what our eyes see, but it's about how our brains make sense of it.
Right. Exactly. Our brains are constantly filtering and processing all that visual input, and this process can be influenced by a bunch of things, mood, stress levels, even past experiences.
That makes sense. Like if I'm feeling anxious,
Yeah.
I might perceive a shadow as something threatening. Or I mean, if it's just a harmless, tree branch, it's like my emotions are shaping how I see the world.
That's a great example, or think about how our emotions can affect our attention. Like, if you're happy and relaxed, you might be more open to soaking in the beauty of your surroundings. But if you're stressed or preoccupied, you might totally miss things that are right there in front of you. It's like your brain is prioritizing certain information based on your emotional state.
It's like that saying, you see what you want to see.
Yeah.
But it's not just a choice. It's like how our brains are wired.
Exactly. And this isn't just, anecdotal. There's actually research showing that stress can impact our visual acuity. Studies have found that stressed out people might experience blurred vision, eye fatigue, even increased sensitivity to light.
So stress is like kryptonite for our eyes. I knew it was bad, but I didn't realize it could affect how well we see.
It can, and chronic stress can have even more serious consequences. Potentially contributing to conditions like dry eye, glaucoma, even macular degeneration.
Okay, this is getting a bit scary.
Mm-hmm.
So what can we do about it? If stress can mess with our vision, do we need to become like Zen masters to protect our eyesight?
Well, becoming a Zen master isn't a bad idea, but the good news is there are a lot of things you can do to manage stress, and that will benefit your vision.
Give us the good stuff. What are some practical tips?
First and foremost, finding healthy ways to cope with stress. That might be exercise, meditation, spending time in nature, or anything that brings you joy. It's about finding what works for you and making it a habit.
All those things we should be doing anyway, right? It's amazing how it's all connected.
It really is, and don't underestimate the power of social connection, talking to friends and family, seeking support. Those things can make a huge difference in managing stress, and that can improve your well-being, which, as we've seen, is connected to eye health.
It's a holistic approach, taking care of our minds and bodies. But you mentioned something earlier that I found really intriguing. You said that our beliefs and expectations can actually influence how we see the world.
It's fascinating, isn't it? There's research suggesting that our mindset can impact our visual perception. For example, studies have shown that people who believe they have bad eyesight might perform worse on vision tests, even if their eyes are physically healthy.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
If you think you have bad vision, it might actually get worse.
Well, it's not quite that simple, but there's definitely a connection. Our mindset can create this feedback loop. If you're always putting yourself down or focusing on the negative, it can impact how you see the world, literally. You might not even notice things that are right there because you've already decided you can't see them.
Wow, that's powerful. So what's the takeaway here? Should we all start chanting affirmations about our amazing eyesight?
Well, positive affirmations can't hurt, but the key is to be mindful of your thoughts and beliefs about your vision. If you're always focusing on what you can't see, try shifting your perspective. Focus on what you can see and be grateful for it.
I love that, a shift in perspective. Instead of fearing vision loss, we can celebrate what we have.
Exactly. And remember, Taking care of your mental and emotional health is an investment in your overall well-being, and that includes the health of your eyes.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation, no pun intended. It's incredible how much we've learned about eyesight.
It's amazing how much there is to discover about something we often take for granted.
We started by exploring the biological changes that come with aging, and we ended up diving into this fascinating connection between our minds and vision. It's a reminder that our eyesight is more than just a physical sense. It's deeply connected to our thoughts, emotions, and experiences.
Absolutely. And as we've learned, protecting our eyesight is not just about, eating carrots and wearing sunglasses. It's about taking care of ourselves as a whole, body, mind, and spirit.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we'll leave you with this final thought. What does it really mean to see? It's a question that goes beyond just the mechanics of vision. It delves into perception, awareness, the interconnectedness of our minds and bodies. It's something to ponder as you step away from this deep dive and go out into the world.
Go out there and see the world with fresh eyes and a grateful heart.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep those peepers sharp and your minds open.